story of Room 1046 is one of the strangest and most unsettling mysteries in American crime history. It's a case that has puzzled investigators, haunted those who have heard it, and remains unsolved to this day. Let's take a closer look at the bizarre and eerie events surrounding Room 1046. On January 2nd, 1935, a man checked into the Hotel President in Kansas City, Missouri. He signed the register as Roland T. Owen, a name that would later prove to be false. Owen was described as a man in his mid-20s with a small build, dark hair, and a scar on his scalp. He had no luggage, only a comb, a toothbrush, and toothpaste. His request was simple: a room on an upper floor facing the courtyard. He was assigned Room 1046. The strange events began almost immediately. The hotel staff noticed odd behavior from Owen. He seemed nervous, always on edge. He rarely left his room and asked for his door to remain unlocked, even when he was inside. Maids and bellboys reported that Owen kept his shades tightly drawn and only used a single dim lamp, leaving the room in near darkness. Over the next few days, the hotel staff made several visits to Room 1046. The maid, Mary Soptic, found him sitting in the dark, fully dressed, as if waiting for something. She also noticed that the phone in his room had been removed and placed on the floor. On one occasion, she overheard a conversation between Owen and someone else. When she asked if he was expecting a visitor, Owen replied coldly, "No, but there is a visitor." Things took a darker turn on the night of January 3rd. Around 11 p.m., a guest in the room next to 1046 reported hearing loud noises and a disturbance. It sounded like something heavy had fallen or someone was struggling. The following morning, January 4th, a bellboy went to check on Owen after receiving a call from the hotel operator, noting that the phone in Room 1046 was off the hook and not in use. When the bellboy knocked on the door, a weak voice told him to come in, but the door was locked from the inside. After knocking again, he received no response, so he called out for Owen, but only heard faint moaning. Fearing the worst, the bellboy returned with a master key. When he entered the room, he found a horrifying scene. Owen was on the floor, naked, covered in blood with multiple stab wounds to his chest, a fractured skull, and a neck that had been strangled with a cord. Blood stained the walls, bed, and bathroom. Despite his severe injuries, Owen was still alive. The bellboy immediately called for help, and Owen was rushed to the hospital. On the way to the hospital, Owen slipped in and out of consciousness. When asked who had done this to him, he whispered, "Nobody," claiming that he had fallen against the bathtub. The doctors were puzzled, as his injuries were far too severe to be self-inflicted. Owen died shortly after arriving at the hospital. The investigation that followed only deepened the mystery. The police discovered that the name Roland T. Owen was fake, and no records of such a person existed. Fingerprints and descriptions were sent nationwide, but no matches were found. Several strange clues emerged, including a label on a bottle of diluted sulfuric acid found in the room, and a man seen with Owen in the hotel lobby the night before the attack. But these leads went nowhere. One of the most bizarre twists in the case came during Owen's funeral. An anonymous person called the funeral home, offering to cover all expenses and requesting that Owen be buried in Kansas City's Memorial Park Cemetery. The caller also mentioned that Owen had been engaged to a woman and that they would meet again in the afterlife. True to their word, money was sent to the funeral home, and Owen was buried as requested. No one ever came forward to claim the body or to explain the mystery behind Room 1046. To this day, the true identity of Roland T. Owen and what happened to him remains a chilling enigma. Was he the victim of a lover's quarrel, a mob hit, or something even more sinister? Who was the mysterious visitor he seemed so afraid of? Why did he use a false name? And who was the person who ensured he had a proper burial? The case of Room 1046 leaves us with more questions than answers, a haunting reminder that some mysteries may never be solved. It's a story that continues to captivate those who hear it, a tale of fear, deception, and an eerie, unsolved crime that has stood the test of time. If this story sent shivers down your spine, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more spine-tingling mysteries and tales from the dark side of true crime. Thank you for watching. The story of Thomas Quick, also known as Sture Bergwall, is one of the most bizarre and controversial in the history of crime. Quick became infamous in Sweden as the serial killer who confessed to over 30 murders, but his story took a shocking turn that left the world questioning everything they thought they knew about him. Thomas Quick was born Sture Bergwall on April 26, 1950, in Falun, Sweden. His early life was troubled. He grew up in a strict and emotionally cold household. Quick struggled with his identity, feeling out of place and confused. As a young man, he began experimenting with drugs and alcohol, leading to a series of crimes, including sexual assaults and robbery, that landed him in and out of psychiatric institutions. In 1991, while confined to Säter, a psychiatric hospital in Sweden, Quick began to confess to a series of gruesome murders. Over the next decade, he admitted to killing more than 30 people, including children. His confessions shocked the nation and made headlines around the world. Quick's accounts were graphic and detailed, describing how he tortured, mutilated, and cannibalized his victims. He even led police to sites where he claimed to have buried bodies, though no remains were found. Quick's confessions came at a time when Sweden was still reeling from a lack of high-profile criminal cases, and his admissions filled a void in the public's appetite for sensational news. As he continued to confess, the authorities, desperate to close unsolved cases, seemed eager to accept his claims without thorough investigation. The media portrayed him as one of the most prolific serial killers in history, and his story captivated a nation. Thomas Quick's confessions were often bizarre and inconsistent, but they were accepted without much scrutiny. The legal system in Sweden was quick to convict him based on his admissions, even though there was little to no physical evidence linking him to the crimes. Quick's accounts of the murders were often filled with inaccuracies, and many of the details he provided were either vague or incorrect. Despite these inconsistencies, the authorities seemed eager to believe him. Quick's therapist at Säter, Margit Norell, played a significant role in the confessions. Norell believed in repressed memories and encouraged Quick to recover memories of his crimes. Under her guidance, Quick's stories became more elaborate and gruesome, feeding into the narrative that he was a monstrous killer. However, there were skeptics who questioned the validity of his confessions, pointing out the lack of evidence and the inconsistencies in his stories. The turning point came in 2001 when Quick stopped cooperating with the police and withdrew his confessions. By then, he had been convicted of 8 murders, but doubts about his guilt began to surface. Critics pointed out that there was no forensic evidence linking him to the crimes, and many of his confessions seemed to be based on information he could have learned from news reports or the investigators themselves. Additionally, the bodies of many of his supposed victims were never found, and in cases where remains were discovered, they didn't match Quick's descriptions. In 2008, Swedish journalist Hannes Rostam began investigating Quick's case, delving deep into the confessions and the legal process that led to his convictions. Rostam's investigation uncovered a series of troubling facts. Quick had been heavily medicated during his confessions, often under the influence of drugs that impaired his judgment. Moreover, many of his confessions had been coaxed out of him by therapists who believed in the now discredited theory of repressed memories. Rostam's work sparked a major review of the cases against Quick, and in a shocking turn of events, all 8 of his murder convictions were overturned between 2009 and 2013. The court concluded that the confessions were unreliable and that the investigations had been mishandled. Quick was released from psychiatric care, and his true identity as Sture Bergwall was restored. The Thomas Quick case became a major scandal in Sweden, raising serious questions about the criminal justice system, the role of psychiatric care, and the influence of media on high-profile cases. It highlighted how easily the truth can be distorted when authorities are too eager to find a culprit, and how vulnerable individuals can be manipulated into confessing to crimes they didn't commit. Sture Bergwall later revealed that his confessions were a cry for attention, a way to gain importance in a world where he felt insignificant. He admitted that he had fabricated the stories of murder, driven by a need for recognition and the influence of his therapists. Bergwall's case serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of relying on confessions alone to secure convictions and the importance of thorough, evidence-based investigations. The story of Thomas Quick is a chilling reminder that justice can sometimes be more about finding someone to blame than uncovering the truth. It's a case that will forever be remembered as one of the most extraordinary examples of false confessions in criminal history, showing how even the most horrifying tales can be nothing more than fabrications born out of a disturbed mind and a flawed system. If this story made you question what you know about justice, share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the world's most perplexing true crime cases. Thank you for watching.